Hello everyone. We have a lot of slides, so we will start in time. So my name is Artem.
My name is Maksym.
And we are here to share our story of going from the profile to recipe-based installation.
Yeah, shortly about us. We are both from Ukraine and working for 1x Internet in Frankfurt office. You can find us at drupal.org. Let's start with our agenda.
Yes, so today we will cover some topics, starting from a bit recap of what is Drupal CMS, then a short story about evolution of our profile from our company, some topics about configuration management of how we do it, and then of course we will focus a lot on recipes and how to implement business logic when you are working with recipes.
All right, I think everybody knows, everybody familiar with Drupal CMS, what it is about, but just quickly to recall that Drupal CMS it's ready-to-use platform for marketing and can be easily installed with just a few clicks by a non-technical person, and provides a lot of cool tools out of the box, like advanced content, advanced media management, SEO tools, driven content, website building, content management, analytics, search, automatic updates, and also Canvas will be there available from version 2.
Yeah, and then I have a question for all of you. How do you install your Drupal sites? So first of all, I think everyone knows the profile installation wizard that is there since the beginning. Then of course there was an era of CLI installation with Drush, or the PHP script that comes from Drupal itself. And then from Drupal 8 Plus there is a way to install the site from exported configuration. And of course now there is this Drupal CMS way with site templates and recipes. And yeah, let's then first check what is good and bad in profiles.
Yeah, let's remind also which strengths and weaknesses profiles has. So the first on the positive side was about customizable installation wizard, where you're able to provide some custom branding screen on the installation wizard. Also allow users to select needed modules, themes, or languages for the website, where you can also configure condition-based setup and provide some initial configuration for the website. So when profile is installed, website is ready to use with all needed configuration in place. But there is also significant downsides, is that profile is still just another extension, which brings complexity and some weight to your project. It's also hard to maintain all this complexity. And another problem is that it also comes to temptation to put everything into profile. I mean, like custom modules, some even business logic functionality. That is also hard to manage with the time. Finally, profile tends to accumulate too many responsibilities in one package. It tries to be like an installer, configuration manager, and dependency resolver in the same time. And here you can see how the installation of profile looks. You have a custom steps defined, custom branding, also conditional logic for modules installation, and demo content creation.
So our journey in the company started with a huge monolith that was doing everything that just Maksym mentioned. So we had custom code, even the admin theme and front-end theme inside. Also a lot of submodules and configuration for everything that can be there. And we also managed the external dependencies with the composer JSON that was inside the profile. All of this made it easy for us to maintain in the beginning, that we were in full control of everything, but with evolution we saw that it brings more and more complexity during the updates, and the project that needs updates would need to update the profile also, and that was really bad.
Yeah, so then on second iteration of our evolution, for our profile evolution, we decided to get rid of this all-in-one monolith setup and introduce like a light version of it, where all our custom modules became independent packages, and they are lived in separate repositories in GitLab and could be fetched by the composer the same way like contrib modules can do. But with the time, it also, in this version, it was hard to keep websites update. And since Drupal.3 was released, we decided to completely get rid of profiles. And on the next level of our evolution, we just reached the point where our profile was just completely empty. There were no submodules, no contrib dependencies, even no code inside it. We just kept it empty without any functionality inside, and prepare it to be safely deleted on the next deployments.
So to sum it up, what we've learned that we need to keep the profile simple and to have it only during the profile installation. So we do not delegate any dependency management to it. So the dependencies should be in the composer JSON of the project itself, or if you reuse it, then in the composer template. Then we do not put any business logic inside the profile itself. No custom modules, no custom themes, and to make sure that the project can be updatable without updating the profile itself. And as the beginning of the Drupal 10.3, we decided that we even will uninstall the profile for all our existing projects. So doing this, we created a simple list of what you need to do to get rid of your profile in your existing project. So first of all, there is unpack plugin in Drupal 11.2, but it is only working for recipes. That's why you need another external unpack package. Here it is on the first step, that will transfer all the profile dependencies to your main composer. Of course, you need to make sure that you copy all your patches from the profile, because the package is not doing it automatically. Make sure that all the patches do not conflict with each other, because you might have some other patches in your main composer. Then it is good time, if you haven't done it yet, to normalize your composer with the composer normalize plugin. And the next step would be actually uninstalling the profile. You can do this with the drush command or through admin UI. After that, don't forget to export configuration and commit it to Git or to any other version control that you have. And on the last step, we updated the profile to this latest version that was just blank and without any dependencies, no code. That would be like the final version of the profile. This process ensures that you will keep your project still working smoothly as it was before, but already without one more extension that you need to maintain. So this was only the first part of the story, the code part, but we know that the Drupal site consists of at least two parts, code and the config management, configuration itself. So how do we do the configuration management during this process of evolution? So historically, the most common way to manage configuration is to put it into your extensions. So would it be a profile, would it be a theme or a module? It is living in install or optional folder or configure write folder, doesn't matter, but it is in extension. The other one is the features module. So everyone, I guess, know this starting from Drupal 6 or 7, and it's still there, but it's fading away because there are more sophisticated ways to do this. Of course, there is still the programmatic way to do this. You can create update hooks or install hooks and then do any configuration changes you want. But of course, this one is the most dangerous one because with great power comes great responsibility. And there is also a growing ecosystem of configuration management helper modules like config split, config rewrite, config sync, config distro, merge, track, and all others that will help you to do some groundwork, and you can only focus on the real configuration that you need to change. But still, there are a lot of differences in difficulties in every approach.
Yes, exactly. And the difficulties we want to mention is about configuration and extension that require you to keep your configuration files in sync, meaning that if some configuration like views or config or field or some permission changes on the website, developers always need to export those changes and put them back into extension, and then deploy the code. And then the second difficulty comes when it comes to deployment. There could be a conflict when extension provides you a configuration update. This configuration could be already changed on website, and Drupal will detect conflict, and to resolve it manually it could be time consuming. That's why we can use some additional tools like config merge, for example, which could automatically detect, notify, or even automatically resolve some conflicts. There are also more significant ways to do that, for example, like a configuration synchronizer module, which made it more advanced and flexible to resolve such configuration conflicts. It does some configuration snapshots in normalized way from the extension configurations, stores them for the comparison during update, and then find the differences, and then it does three-way merge based on basic configuration, active one, and the new one. And in case there is a conflict with existing one, then it will keep on touch the active configuration on website.
So it means that your update might be just lost. That, of course, was not an option for us. And that's why we created some extension for the config sync module in our custom space. We call it just distro updater to cover all these failure cases. We decided that all configuration changes, at least significant ones, we want to wrap into update hooks, but update hooks not to programmatically change the configuration, but it's just a fake one, so we can track the changes. So here is the QR code where this approach is described in details, so you can check. But I will also briefly go through some key points. There will be one more time. So first of all, these update hooks provide some additional metadata. So normally when you create an update hook, you also write what it is doing. So here is also a nice and convenient place for developers to put some more instructions in case this update is successful or it ends with a failure. So this description that you can see on the screen is also stored in this additional entity that we created to keep track of updates. And the update structure itself was also slightly changed. So the update function consists of two parts. One is just to register the update itself when the updates are running. And the other one is to confirm that the configuration is in the state that we expect it to be after the update. So moreover, the configuration synchronization, so the QR code again, for the same one. The configuration merge module, it collects a lot of details on what was done with configuration changes. But this information was just stored internally and nothing was done with it. Our small helper module also adds this information to Drupal logs for debugging later. Because sometimes when, for example, the configuration change is skipped, you might need to know that it was skipped. Or if the configuration was changed in a way that it substituted some parts because the associated, non-associated arrays are updated good, but non-associated not good, and that's why, yeah, you can check in the logs what's going on. To make it even more visual, we integrated our module with checklist API, where all updates that are coming in this deployment are stored as these checklist items, where you can see that, for example, if the update applied is checked in, and there is success message, and if it's not applied, it's gray, and there are some instructions from this doc block of update function where you can follow them manually and really do the update anyway. Of course, all of these actions that I mentioned are meant to be executed on the local environment. We do not recommend to do this on production. So when you perform all the updates and all configuration is synchronized, you of course just export it and commit it, and then on other environments the update procedure should be as usual. You just import the configuration and everything should work already. But this is not the end of our configuration management story, because 2 years ago we have the new way to do this, recipes.
Yeah, since Drupal 10.3 was released, we made a logical decision to try the recipes as a new way of advanced site builder. And when we started to explore recipes, we found out that the biggest advantage that they have really simplified the process of how configuration can be applied to the site without bringing all this long-term baggage that extension usually introduce. So what are the benefits of using recipes? So recipes can be installed only once. They can install the modules, import configuration, and you can forget about them and remove them. Important design principle to mention is that recipes, even they apply only once, still needs to be able to be reapplied without breaking anything. And the major benefit also that they can support rollback functionality. For example, during application process, if some module fails to be activated, you can still come back to the previous stable state of the website. Also, recipes are predictable and declarative. They can provide default content, and not only for demo purposes. You can think about it in the context of commerce, for example. So your recipe can create some stores, some shipping methods, and payment gateways, for example. Also, recipes can be nested, which gives you more flexibility to create your websites, where you can put all together all needed functionality from smaller recipes into one bigger, and install the website on a new way, which we will show in a minute. And finally, there is no hard dependencies. Recipe can be easily applied to your website and easily can be removed without any broken changes. Yeah, and a new way to install the recipe that you built in a nested way. You can use standard site install command and then provide a path to this recipe, or just a Drupal installation script. And of course, you can create your own recipe for the site installation.
Yeah, and of course, we also learned during this conference, and we learned that this new way calls site template. And yeah, so here is also our version of site templates from 1x Internet. You can also try it yourself and try Drupal 1xinternet.de. This is already the fully functional website that was installed from the recipe. It already has 4 content types, 30 paragraph types, 3 custom roles, and at least 65 complex content items with hundreds of images and other media items that are all wrapped in the recipes. In addition, we also have SEO functionality, advanced content editor features, even AI integration. And again, this is just in recipes and not how Adam showed that his exporter creates one big fat recipe. This one is already a package of recipes. So, without knowing that the type should be site for site templates, we already also had this type site. Somehow we were lucky. So, alongside with the other custom recipes, you can also use the core recipes. Here it's like a bit smaller, but yeah. So you are not limited with only your custom recipes. You can do core recipes or recipes from Contrib. And all our custom recipes are their own composer packages and then can be applied as a standalone project to any existing site. That was our goal, to do this, so they are applicable also for our existing projects, so we don't have to do double work. Our standard recipe is slim and small, but to show off all our features that we provide on Try Drupal, for example, we created another recipe that extends our standard recipe, that enables all the features that we have, and also adds some guided tours with the tour module. And on top of that recipe, we have even one more that adds demo content. So to not have everything in one repo, the demo content is in another recipe. As an example, I want to show you that these all small features that are, for example, accordion, custom entities, facts and figures, file downloads, each box is a paragraph type on its own, because in OneX Internet we use paragraphs. It doesn't matter what you use internally, but we try to package every paragraph type to its own recipe, to have its own component. In the future it will be single directory component. It's not yet that, but we use web components, and every recipe is isolated and can be installed to any other project without having any conflicts. Yes, we had to do some unpopular steps. For example, we don't share the field storages. Each paragraph type has its own fields with its own unique names. But in case we really need to have something shared with the fields, we can also use the computed fields, for example, to put the data into a search API index, or to reuse the same template for all content types. That would be still possible. So here is an example of one of these paragraph type recipes. It's really simple. It would be the same as was in your module. So you just put in the config folder the paragraph type configuration, the field storage, field instances, and view displays and form displays. And there is a small recipe YAML file that just enables field and paragraphs modules. And for us, we use also the paragraph behaviors. It just enables paragraph behaviors. And one more time, I just want to mention that we have in this CDemo recipe 64 nested recipes. And this is a schematic view of what we have. You are flexible to combine them in any order you like. If they are all isolated and separate packages, this is the way that you can create multiple installation profiles in your case. So for example, if you need more paragraphs in one and less paragraphs in another one, you can just combine them in any order, and then you will still get your new site template.
Yeah. But still there is some disadvantages of using recipes. The most bigger one limitation is that recipe can't include any logic inside. Everything must be defined in the and configured in the YAML file. That means that no PHP code can be executed. And another challenge is not all configuration management use cases are supported in Drupal core yet. But recipes can handle basics well, installing modules, importing configuration, setting up some content, but more advanced workflows still needs to be covered by using additional contrib modules to fill these gaps. Also, core recipes themselves are quite limited, but meanwhile in Drupal CMS they did a good step forward, and the recipes become more practical for specific use cases. There is also limited to no UI, except like Drupal CMS installation or project browser for recipes. So overall, while recipes are a cleaner, modern approach, they're still evolving, and that's why we will have to implement some custom config actions.
Yeah, so don't be afraid that you can do custom configuration easily yourself in your custom modules. So for example, we had to create such config actions like add allowed block reference, because we use block field and we want to fine grain which blocks we like to expose. The same was done for views reference field, because we also want to control which views should be allowed for selection in the paragraph. Then the most useful one was allowed reference bundle, because for entity reference fields or entity reference revision fields, you want, for example, add one new bundle. There is no config action yet in core for this, except for set setting on the field, but the set setting just overrides existing configuration and doesn't merge it with the one that is there. So that one is we had to create on our own. The trickiest one was the allowed HTML to filter, because if you use the text filter limited HTML text and you want to add one more tag, there is also no config action for this yet in the core, so we had to create it. And because we are using front-end editing a lot with paragraphs, I had to create this config front-end editing for fields. But now there is another one that is cleaner. It will be soon in core, I hope. Set component third-party settings that will replace it. But even with all these custom entities, there is still a question: how do we implement the business logic? How do we implement all the requirements that client want from us while we are using only recipes? But recipes can also bring the modules as dependencies, so there is no problem with it. You can bring any contrib module, any other package, and also even custom module inside. For this, there is a nice module called recipe code installer that extends recipes, and you can put the custom module inside. It will copy it, but there is a limitation that if your file system on the server is protected, then it might not work. But at least locally you can apply it and then deploy. So that's one of the cases. Then still, with the example of config actions, the modules that recipe enables during application can bring their own config actions to the same recipe. So if your recipe depends on, for example, search API, you can use already inside your config action part of recipe the config actions from this module, from search API. Because of the composability of recipes, again, you can combine recipes in any order, so your business logic can be solved already on this stage also. And of course, a lot of contrib modules already adopt the config actions. Like I said, search API has a lot of config actions, and EI module has a lot of config actions already. But of course, still you need some custom modules to cover the business logic.
Yeah, and in our setup, we treat our custom modules almost like a contributed ones. So there's like centralized, versioned, and shared across all multiple projects. All modules are stored in separate repositories and can be fetched through a composer. And we are following a strict rule that those shared modules cannot be modified. If you need some specific functionality on website, it needs to be only in some project related custom module. We're also using composer installers to organize modules, themes, and other components in a clean structure folder way, handling everything predictable across all projects. So this approach makes bug fixes, new features rollout, and security updates are more efficient.
But again, there are problems even with such structure. So when the number of custom modules and custom extensions grows, there is the problem of discoverability and visibility. So how do you tell your developer that he doesn't need to reinvent the wheel and just reuse something that is already there? So the first question we asked ourselves, how can we enable developers to find these custom modules and custom recipes? To solve this, we tried to create this centralized index of all these internal projects. Of course, you can cover it with wiki page or documentation page, but we went a bit further and we created the private project browser integrated with our GitLab packages. The second challenge was also we need to stay informed about the updates of our custom modules, so that any new release or security update, the developers from the project know that they have to update or they are recommended to update.
And the first step for the discoverability is code organization. In our case, in GitLab, we created two submodules, one for recipes, two subgroups, one for recipes, another one for modules. And why it is important, just on the next slide.
So, for me, personally, the greatest feature of the Drupal CMS is Project Browser. I hope for somebody of you is also the same. That is why we decided to follow the same approach and to expose information about our internal projects with Project Browser. But what to do if all your projects are privately hosted, so they are not public? So here we rely on the flexibility and pluggability of the project browser. There is a module, so here is a link, the project browser GitLab, and it is providing a source for the project browser itself that can allow you to fetch information about the projects with GitLab API, and you can use it in Drupal. Of course, all main features of the project browsers are still there, so you can see there is a full text search, the filter by categories, there are some sorting options, and of course you can see the project title, description, categories, and even the avatars from our GitLab. And this is, again, all from the private repositories. There is also one more way to do this. There is API browser module that generalizes all the project browser sources, that you can use any source you want. But yeah, this is more complicated, and for us it was more suitable to use GitLab because we use GitLab internally. But again, there is space for some custom module helper that will be useful for us, because the activator service in the project browser is tailored only to recipes that are in core or recommended recipes from Drupal CMS. That's why we had to create another service that will show the commands that are tailored to our use case. So for example, to require the non-existent in the codebase recipe, we just need this composer require command. For the modules, no modifications are needed because modules are well known and they are here in Drupal since the beginning. So this extension type is simple and it is already working without any changes. And here you can still see, thank you, and still you can see that if there is no module, if there is no module in your file system, there is a command that you can fetch it with Composer and then install with Drush or any other way that you like. And of course, like for everything in 1x Internet, we still have a recipe for this. So there is a recipe to configure correctly the project browser and to enable all these new sources that were provided by GitLab extension.
Yeah, and finally, to make Drupal aware about updates of our custom module, we needed to extend the core update system so it could communicate with GitLab and yeah, where our internal modules are hosted. So we use the hidden powers of update module. And here's the interesting thing we found. Perhaps someone already knew about this project status URL property marked on the slide.
So have you heard about this property from the project definition? Yes, but it is there, yeah?
So we found that actually this one exactly what we need for our case, and after applying this, after using this property, we just needed to make some simple decorators of core functionality to make it work with our GitLab. And the solution was to decorate update fetcher service and override build fetch URL module, as well as fetch project data by using some GitLab API to get information about releases, and also one small one-line change in the update processor service where we override the parse XML message. So with all these two decorators working together, Drupal built-in system can now correctly detect and display update statuses of our custom modules the same way how it works with contrib modules at Drupal.org.
Yes, so to sum it up, everything that you heard today, there are some recommendations from us if you also want to follow the same journey. Use your profile only to install your site if you have to. Don't keep anything inside it, and don't try to do the update hooks inside or put some business logic, because modules do it better. And fine-grained modules can be updated easily if they have only 1 or 2 or 3 purposes, and not like a profile that has thousands of purposes. As an alternative, you can use site templates that are now there, or just normal recipes, not necessary to be site templates. Don't be afraid to create custom modules for your business logic, but we recommend that you package them and expose them with packages, or either it's like GitLab packages or private packages or any other packages that you want to use. For better adoption of these custom packages, we recommend to use Project Browser. There would be probably soon more plugins for the source, not only GitLab. And of course, you need to find a way to inform that your projects have any updates or security updates, so your projects and websites are safe and up to date.
Yeah, and the most important, don't forget about contribution. There is still need in more config actions for even better flexibility of recipes.
Yes, so if you are a maintainer of any module that has config entity inside, don't forget that any entity method that you have in your config entity class can be exposed as a config action. That would be like an easy fix that will help to adopt your module with recipe ecosystem. And then there is always a low-hanging fruit of contribution that you can review issues. There are tons of issues for recipes and Drupal CMS that you can just review, give your feedback, or share your ideas for making it better. And here is a short list of our contribution that we did, and they all need review, and all they need to be RTDC'd to be merged faster. They can help to integrate recipes faster and in a better way.
Yeah.
So thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, there is a microphone.
Is the code that uses the project browser URL from GitLab, is that publicly available?
You mean the update one, or yeah, for the update one it's not yet publicly available. It was just proof of concept internally, but the project browser GitLab is of course already public and you can use it. We also made some contribution to make it work with project browser version 2, so it's compatible with Drupal CMS and all these new features that you can find now. But yeah, this GitLab integration of update profile, update module, we can also publish a bit later when it's stable. So we are not making any security problems.
Perfect. Any other questions?
When you said you had a distribution, and normally you ship some configuration that you showed some paragraph types, and in a distribution sense, I think when you think about your distribution and want to add a field to this paragraph type after 1 year or 2, and now you have switched to recipes for this paragraph type, what's the way to add the field when you are using recipes for it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, as you can see from all the talks that were for Drupal CMS, that recipes are not updatable and not meant to be updatable. And yeah, all responsibility is on the project now. So if you want, just add. But if you, of course, have 20 sites to edit, then there is also a way to create another recipe that will just do it. Just add one field and you can apply it locally and then distribute to all the sites with recipe application, and then again unpack, commit, export configuration, commit, and that would be your approach. That is also not recommended by Adam. I don't know like what his thoughts about this because he never shares this yet. But yeah, that would be the way. So you can create this update recipe, and if they fail gracefully, because you, for example, in one of the projects you already have this field name, in another one you don't have it, but yeah.
Okay, that sounds like not such a good way to do it, because after 2 or 3 iterations, I have a lot of recipes with paragraph type A, _1, _2, to add some features in the long life of a distribution.
Yeah, but recipes you don't keep. They are just one-time runners.
Yeah, I know.
But you can always try to use this config synchronizer module that also helps you to manage configuration, or as standard update hooks.
Yeah, we're using standard update helper. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? So we call it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.